Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Besares, or commonly known on the first channel or second channel as Mizilla. And today, I'm going to do another ranking video. Since I already done a ranking video of the Showa of Godzilla, why not do another ranking video, but this time on its competitor? And the kaiju that tries to compete with Godzilla is obviously Gamera. And I have already made a post about the Showa of Gamera. And for those who already know, for those who don't know, I do have a rocky relationship with this era, and I'm merely not quite a fan of it too much. I mean, it does have some it does have some pretty good films that I do like, but this era is just not very mastercrafted to me. I mean, there's some ones that I do like, there's some ones that are kind of okay, and there's some ones that are, let's just say, donkey shit. And it definitely shows because this era is definitely not the best start for the giant turtle because this era is like infamously known for having constant financial issues from the studio, or the fact that Dai is just straight of like it just straight up concentrates too much more on the financial goals rather than their films. There's one film in this era that I actually do like and consider that I consider a masterpiece, but overall, most of the other films of the Showa Gamera mostly just made more like cash grab purposes, just to capitalize on the success of Godzilla, and that's pretty much it. And the only one who actually cared for it is actually the one doing made after the first movie. But the rest of the movies, it just literally started to go downhill from there. So let's not waste any more time and dive right into it. Coming out from the bottom of the barrel is definitely Gamma Super Monster. I mean, I have nothing to say about Gamera Super Monster other than this is easily considered one of the most ridiculous and laziest kaiju movies I fucking ever seen in my life. And yes, I was through drinking caffeine while watching this, and I was just completely like laughing at it. It's no hard to see why a lot of people or me consider this one to be the worst of the Gamera of the Showa Gamera movies. And everything about this movie is straight up garbage. From the plot, from the from the ridiculous plot, from the forgettable characters, from its lousy special effects, and the one that uses a bunch of stock footage, and the fact that it's the one that literally uses a fucking Star Destroyer for its main antagonist. I mean, I get the feeling, I don't know how Dai didn't get sued by 20th Century Fox or Disney or George Lucas, in fact, and for some reason they just didn't get sued for it, which is basically mind blowing. I mean, mind blowing, yeah. And even if it's considered hilarious or in a so bad it's good or hilarious type of way, the movie it's still fucking garbage, and it's no hard to see why. And if you think that most of the rest of the movies of this franchise are garbage, go check out this one, and it has to be seen to be believed because it's so fucking lackluster, garbage. It's hilarious that you can actually watch it where you get drunk or on caffeine or alcohol. But if you don't have them, then it's easily gonna get boring really fast. And yeah, this one is easily the bomb the barrel terrible. You can tell that no one really gave a crap about this one, and the fact that nobody put any damn effort in this entry, and it fucking shows. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. At least the next one is not as bad as this shit, but let's move on. Number 7, Gamma vs. Zigra. Definitely one of the most boring and forgettable entries I've ever sat through. And even the fact that Zigra is a cool kaiju, and the fact it does have a cool design, but the entire movie is straight up sluggish. From its pacing, from its boring characters, to the fact that Zigra once again is a cool kaiju, but the fights are just easily pretty boring and lackluster. And the fact it takes a while to get going, it has a has a lot of moments that pretty much didn't progress the story or sometimes waste of time. The characters are not really memorable. Even the fact that the main antagonist lady, despite the fact that a lot of people consider her to be hot, but for me, she's just straight up dumbass. Consider the fact that she literally just like kept on being incompetent. She doesn't like always kept them fall into the traps and doesn't feel like she's like trying. It almost feels like she's making herself look like a bitch. and she's basically just falling into the trap. And the fact that most of the damn movie is just her chasing the kids around, which is too freaking lackluster. And no joke, I was literally completely bored of it. And even the fact the moments when she's trying to chase the kids around, it may seem entertaining, but for me, it's just straight up boring. And the fact that, and yes, it's, hold on. And despite the fact that these moments are supposed to be entertaining, they just make the movie more like a sluggish mess. And the fact that she always literally like makes really dumb decisions, like explaining the motivation of their invasion, which is supposed to be kind of ironic considering the fact that she's never supposed to like reveal it. But she just like revealed the entire plan, everything went to shit, and the fact that Zero is just a complete like, oh my goodness, and the fact that Zero always literally, it's always very incompetent, it doesn't really do anything, most of the time it's underwater, and just, she just doesn't really do anything, and most of the time he's just straight up underwater and kept on monologuing, and I was just yelling at her to just shut up already because you're not even doing anything. Oh, brother, even the fight scenes are just kind of boring, lackluster, and sometimes slow and tedious. So yeah, definitely one of the another weak entry of the Showa Gamma franchise. It's at least a little better than Gamera Super Monster, but it's still lackluster and boring. Anyway, let's move on. Number 6, Gamma versus Beers. Definitely another boring and forgettable entry, and the fact it does have the same problems as the last entry I mentioned. But unlike versus Ziggura, it's at least entertaining. Well, unless if you count the final battle at the end. But the film in general is just straight up boring and sluggish. The characters are boring and forgettable. The pacing is sluggish and lackluster. It's definitely the first entry that uses stock footage to pan out the runtime. And boy, those sequences are just straight up short to sit through. And the fact that it takes like forever to get through all the stock footage to get to the new stuff. The only few positive about the movie is that Vera is actually an okay kaiju. I mean, like the last time we were Ziggurat is the good part of the movie. Vera is okay. He's not technically great or bad. He's okay. Despite the fact that he kind of looks like something that a HP Lovecraft designed, like Squidward. But overall, he's an okay kaiju. And the spaceships from the exterior and the interior are actually pretty well designed, actually impressive. And once again, the entire final battle is easily the best part of the movie. But once again, the film is just a forgettable mess with tons of boring characters, forgettable dialogue, forgettable pacing. It's just straight up mess. It's the same. It almost feels it's the least trash compared to the other two. It's a little bit better than the last two, but it's still pretty bad. So yeah. Number 5, the original, aka Gamma the Giant Monster, whatever you want to call it. Gotta be honest, despite the fact it's the first entry of the franchise, or the Showa in particular, and it's the one that kickstarted Gamera and its franchise, especially the Showa as a whole, but is admittedly not a masterpiece compared to the original Godzilla, which that movie is still a masterpiece of its franchise. But this film, it's kind of forgettable and really lackluster. And it felt more like a ripoff than a cash grab to the original Godzilla. And it kind of shows because the movie is literally black and white, literally, like it just basically just like tries to be like Godzilla, but this time just replacing Godzilla with a giant turtle, and voila, you get Gamera. Don't get me wrong, it does have some peak moments like the destruction sequences, and Gamera himself does look cool, but the film suffers from having lousy and bad dialogue. Like the fucking Americans from the first part of the movie were just like almost talking robotically. And the fact that the characters from the main character, from the rest of the characters are kind of forgettable and insufferable. And my god, Toshio, he's easily the worst part of the movie. I just cannot stand him. He's easily insufferable. The way he kept on shouting, Gamma, Gamma, don't kill him, bullshit, or dog shit, or donkey shit, whatever. I just don't care. Don't care. And there's some plot points that really didn't go anywhere, like That the whole Cold War plot point that really go anywhere during the first half of the movie. It did happen to cause the main reason why Cameron was there, but it didn't lead to anything. And it's just completely like just thrown out the window as soon as the movie centers more on Gamera. It just goes a typical, oh no, a giant monster, we must stop him, and that's it. And I feel like in the moment when Gamera saves Toshio, it straight up just comes out of nowhere. I mean, I get it that it's supposed to represent what Gamera becomes friend of the children, but it's just too clunky considering the fact that at first half of the movie, Gamera is shown killing people, then later rescue a child, and later goes on a rampage again. Like it's nothing ever happened. You could take out that part when Gamera saves a child, and the movie will remain the same. It's like nothing very interesting about it. It's just the same. It's technically not the best start for Gamera, but it's not bad. It's an okay kaiju movie. It's lackluster, and it straight up has some pretty bad moments, but the movie, it's still fine. You can have some enjoyment out of it. You can be like, it does have some pretty good moments, like the action sequences and Gamera himself looks cool. But the film in general, it's pretty lackluster. It's not the best stuff for Gamera, and probably will remain as pretty lackluster. So number four, Gamera versus Giron. Definitely one of the better entries of the Showa franchise, and definitely a better one compared to the other ones I mentioned. And it's due to the fact that it's literally way more action packed, way more like engaging. It has some pretty good set pieces. The action sequences are great. I do like the kaiju fights. Giron himself is a cool kaiju, and it's overall pretty enjoyable. And especially the fact that all the fight scenes are pretty goofy, but they can be enjoyable. It does have some pretty impressive set pieces, like when the Planetaria has a pretty good like a city set, and the main villains themselves are admittedly quite attractive to me. Especially the fact that the main antagonist ladies are definitely like very outstanding and attractive. It's overall pretty fun, engaging, goofy, and pretty enjoyable kaiju movie from this type of era, especially from the Showa era in general. But the film again suffers from having forgettable and insufferable characters like the main boys from the movie. They're just pretty dumb and sometimes pretty forgettable and sometimes boring to watch. And the fact that the movie just like once again just uses a bunch of stock footage to pan out the runtime. And it's that part, and it literally becomes boring when the stock footage appears again. But even the fact that it has a lot of forgettable characters and just use a bunch of stock footage, but the movie itself, it's definitely very enjoyable. Unless you stick with the whole kaiju parts on Tierra, and that's pretty much it. But overall, but at least this movie is definitely better than the other ones I mentioned earlier. So, yeah. Number three, Gamma versus Gauss. Definitely one of the better entries of the show era, and it's no hard to see why. Because it has a lot of impressive set pieces, the kaiju action is fun, Gauss is definitely a pretty cool kaiju. And overall, the fights are definitely fun. I really like the destruction sequence when Gauss literally goes on a rampage on the Goya. And I do pretty admit, despite the fact that the other child characters from the previous list that I mentioned are pretty insufferable, at least the main kid in this one is actually pretty likable and actually really charming. And actually was literally like, I was literally like shouting that I wish that this kid would survive and actually get all alive. He's definitely the only good character, the only good kid character from this franchise that at least I actually kind of root for. But the film admittedly suffers from forgettable characters and the fact that Gauss doesn't have a cohesive origin. And it's the first film in this era that literally started the downfall of this era. But even the fact that it's literally the cause of this downfall, it's still an engaging and enjoyable movie that at least it's basically a better entry than most of the other ones that I mentioned. It's definitely very engaging, very detaining. Gauss has a cool design. The fights are fun. Gamera looks badass and cool. Everything about this movie is just perfect. Definitely one of the better entries for me. Number two, Gamera vs. Jacob. Definitely another grandiose of entry in the show era. And I do pretty admit I prefer this movie over versus Gauss. Like once again, the set pieces are impressive, the destruction sequences are great, the kaiju fights are fun, And Gyro is easily a very impressive kaiju. I actually prefer her over Gauss in my opinion. And I feel like her abilities are definitely way more badass than Gauss has, like the shooting laser. But I feel like her abilities to like shoot out some like a spikes and like use her tail as a way to like impregnate or fuck Gamera. Yes, I said fuck. I meant to say like stab Gamera, but I meant to say fuck because Gamera just gets impregnated by Jiger. And the fact that I really do like the set piece that took place during the Expo 70, during when they're about to like doing some sort of an expedition by literally explaining all the cultures from the globe. And actually, it does have a pretty good set pieces. It has, it's definitely way more better than Gamma versus Gauss because the set pieces are improved, are literally improved. Kaiju fights are the kaiju fights are fun. Gyro is really impressive kaiju. Everything about this movie is literally perfected and very badass and great. But the film, like any other entry before this, it does suffer from having forgettable characters and dumb at times. But even the characters are forgettable and dumb, the movie is easily fun and entertaining. And I do think this one is easily one of the best ones out of the Showa movies, and probably better than Gamma versus Gauss in my opinion. And the number one on this list is definitely Gamma versus Barugon. I mean, you feel like you guys already seen this coming and why this one is easily the best one for me, but I'll explain it. Gamma vs. Barugon is easily considered one of the best and by far the only masterpiece of this era. And it's the one that I literally give a crap about literally about this film and actually care for it. And it's not hard to see why, because it has a pretty good story, memorable, likable characters, it has a pretty good symbolism and message about being greedy. The special effects are grandiose. I honestly really like the darker tone in this movie, especially that it doesn't really play itself and play it safe. It's more like aimed towards adults. And the fact that it doesn't have any child characters in the movie, which is basically perfect. I really do like Barium, which is he's easily the best kaiju out of this era. Definitely because how unique it is. Because mostly people just think that Gauss is the better enemy for Gamma. For me, Barium is really the best one for me. And he's definitely very unique because of its representation of the consequences of being greedy and has a pretty good abilities, etc. Which is the main reason why I consider Battleground to be the best kaiju of the Showa era of Gamera. And yes, I prefer him over Gauss in my opinion. And it's kind of a shame that most of the later entries abandon the darker tone. It just basically just end up more on the kid-friendly aspect, which of course ruined the whole aspect, ruined the basically ruined this era, especially that it caused the downfall of this era. But this film in general, despite the fact that the rest of the movies are kid friendly or sometimes, yeah, but this film in general is easily a masterpiece and the only mastercrafted Gamma movie of the Showa era. Definitely one of the best and by far the only recommended Gamma movie if you want something like more serious, more mastercrafted, more like I said again, masterpiece. This movie is just a masterpiece. That's all for today, folks. I hope you liked this video and give a like on this video. Subscribe and please share your ranking of this era in the comments. I would definitely love to see it and see what your ranking or rating of this franchise. So that's all for today, folks. That's all for today. See you guys later. And I hope you guys subscribe to this channel and this video, especially on this second channel with Emizilla Productions. And see you guys next time. See you later, guys.